Well, hello, dear brothers and sisters. This is a special message I've put together for you and others in our CMP project, the Crisis Management Plan Trust. There's a lot going on. I've been observing a number of facts and events and happenings and collecting a lot of these data points and started to collect some of these and connect the dots. I'm sure you've experienced the same thing in life. Things happen and you don't really understand why. You ask the Lord, Lord, why is this happening? Is there a message in here? Is there a purpose? What's the purpose? What should I take out of this? How shall I move forward based on this event happening? And that's really critical because so many things happen in life that people just kind of blow off and gloss over, and they don't take anything away from it. I don't believe there is such a thing as coincidence or accidents. I think everything happens for a reason. Just as in Romans tells us, all things work for the good of those who love the Lord. Okay, so we've got to be able to recognize where is the good when the good perhaps is not quite so obvious, right? So let me share some slides I put together. I want to talk about, first of all, things that are happening in the world and why that's important to our project. Okay, how does it affect? What's the relation? And there is a relation to just about everything that's going on. Okay. Our project is not one isolated microcosm unto its own. Even though it is its own entity, we are adrift in the seas of world events and things happening in the world, and we're affected by those things. So I'd like to take a look at that and help us all to gain a better understanding as a result. Okay, so let me begin with this. We're going to look at the global landscape in the world that we live in, okay, to try and gain a better understanding of what's happening, okay, and how that affects us. So going back several years, all right, most of you are familiar with Carrot Bars. If you're not, this was a company I was involved with for 11 years. It was a gold company, had a network marketing feature, was extremely successful. It had an 11-year track record, delivering on each and every one of its promises. All right, its last development was a gold-backed cryptocurrency, and this was destined to be a world beater. All right. I invested heavily into that based on the track record of Carrot Bars, my personal experience. They had always delivered on their promises. The service was good. I had accumulated a fair amount of gold. In the process, the network marketing side was working well. It financed a couple trips to Europe that I had, and just a stellar track record. Okay. Well, based on that, I invested heavily into the gold-backed cryptocurrency. I'm embarrassed to say what the amount was, but it was several $100,000. Okay. Long story short, I don't know if it was the securities regulators that came along, but the thing crashed and I lost everything. Okay. So one of the partners that was involved in Carrot Bars, he split off. In fact, Harold Size, the president of Carrot Bars, was in charge of doing the securitized cryptocurrency, and Joseph Haidt, the other partner, was going to do the utility coin. So there was a security coin, regulated, and then there was the utility coin. He broke off and set up GS Partners. GS Partners had an entire ecosystem based on using its cryptocurrency, its utility coin, to invest in their cryptocurrency. They were doing things such as digitizing real estate in Dubai. They had this crypto-friendly debit card. They had a list of different investments with BD Swiss, a Swiss-based trading company. They had an entire ecosystem based on their utility coin. Okay, so I put a little bit in those investments, and I was very happy to be using their debit card, which was crypto friendly. I could fund it with Bitcoin or Tether or whatever else, and then go out and buy my groceries with it or use the debit card as fiat. It was a beautiful arrangement. Well, Club Swan took over the credit card operation, and it wasn't very long before Club Swan stopped or halted the operations of the debit card. All right. I had a balance on there, not huge, but big enough. It was over $1,000. And long story short, I lost that balance. They never gave it back to me, despite promises and despite having me jump through a bunch of hoops, providing them with additional information. Won't go into that story, but that was a loss. Again, regulators came in, shut down GS Partners. Okay, so both of those operations are out of business, costing me ungodly amounts. Okay, and others. Of course, not just me, but having a 12-year track record, Carrot Bars had amassed a huge following, a huge client list, and the losses were really quite astounding. So the good news is I did accumulate a fair amount of physical gold, which added to my nest egg here. So I didn't come away with nothing. So moving on, there was a program called Metafy Yielders, yield farming. I was introduced to this by someone who was in Carrot Bars, and they had been involved in this for some time. And I was really impressed because the founder of the program put his face on the internet. He was doing personal messages to everybody. Very transparent, very straightforward. People were growing their deposits. They were making withdrawals. Everything was functioning beautifully. So I watched this for a while based on the personal experience of people that I knew and seeing the transparency. I was impressed. So I ended up putting a nice little chunk in there. Wasn't long before that happened when there was the rug pull. All right, go to the website's down, no news, no announcements, no nothing. Say goodbye to your deposits. Okay, same story with BitConnect, highly successful company that was dealing with Bitcoin in various ways and was very successful. People were achieving a high level of success with it. And so was I. All right. And again, same story. All right. After some time, the rug pull, it's out of business, it's gone. ASIC, same story there. Tradera was a program teaching people how to trade the markets. It had a networking feature. I had a lot of people that wanted to learn how to trade, and it was run by a small handful, a few young guys, and don't know what happened, but they closed it down, and that whole effort was down the tubes. Some of you may remember OneCoin. OneCoin was dubbed the Bitcoin killer. OneCoin was on track basically to dominate the world. It was extremely popular. They had generated over $4 billion in transactions. I had devoted a fair amount of time, was doing extremely well with OneCoin, accumulating assets in the OneCoin system. The founder was a lady from Bulgaria, PhD, doing interviews with all of the news media around the world, highly proclaimed. Long story short, OneCoin did the rug pull. She has the dubious distinction of being the only female on the FBI's most wanted list. Okay. That was an effort that went down the tubes. If you saw my solutions, headwinds and solutions video at the end of last year, you heard me talking about Vector. $2 billion verified on the blockchain that they were managing. Physical headquarters in the heart of the financial district in London. The CEO was receiving visitors who wanted to come learn about the company, verify the authenticity. People were able to see his passport, his residence, quarterly financial statements that looked like they were done by PricewaterhouseCoopers. Highly professional, and put a significant chunk in with Vector based on that vetting that was done. And sure, the week after the deposit was done, rug pull, they disappear. Okay. Let's talk about banks. Now, before I do, let me step back and say that those examples that I gave you of those programs, that was only a few of the ones that I've been involved in that had similar results. Okay. I've got a list as long as my arm that I could name company after company after company where basically the same thing was happening. So one has to wonder at some point, is the whole world set up as one big scam? I mean, is there anything that you can trust? I mean, I could probably add at least a dozen more names to this list. Okay. But it doesn't end with these different programs. Banks are probably amongst the biggest thieves that exist today. All right. Just a couple examples from my personal experience. All right. My own personal experience. I had a business account with K Bank in Belize. K has received awards as being, one of the stellar banking operations in the Caribbean. I had an account there. I was not happy with the service I was getting. I thought it was very much a rank amateur operation. So I wanted to close my account. I closed my account and said, send me my money. They didn't do it. I had $80,000 in the account. And it took me 10 months of negotiation, arm twisting, pressuring. I was putting pressure on these guys like you would not believe, to the point where from Belize, they sent one of their vice presidents specifically to meet with me and talk with me and try and calm me down. All right. And the net result was that vice president tried to intimidate me, saying, well, the bank owner, he has ways of doing things. Kind of a mafioso type of veiled threat. I looked the vice president right back in the eye with a steely stare. I'm sure it pierced his heart, saying, you know what? He's not the only one that has ways of doing things. Two can play that game. So don't pull that crap on me. Long story short, I eventually, after 10 months, got my money out of them. But it wasn't without a lot of work and a lot of pressure and a lot of back and forth. Another bank, just recently, Wallex Global, had an account with $160,000 in it. They decided to close the account. They didn't like my business model. Okay, fine. Send me the funds back. Send the funds back where they belong to go. And no, that was September 2023, and those funds still have not been returned. They will be, mark my words, they will be, but only because, how shall I put it? Only because the proper amount of pressure is being applied in the right places. Okay, the average individual probably would not do the things that that I'm doing in this regard. Okay, so the average individual would probably count on losing that $160,000. I had another client wanted to do a wire for $150,000. Chase Bank out of New York, one of the largest banks in the world. Chase decided that, you know what? We think that what you're doing, you could be a victim of a scam. So for your own protection, we're not going to send this wire transfer. So in other words, the bank pretends to know the recipient of the wire transfer when in fact the client does know the recipient and has full faith and confidence in the arrangements. But the bank wants to make the decisions better than the client themselves. They think they can make the better choice. So they act as though that money is their own. It's not their clients. And this is happening time and time again. Banks are not releasing funds, especially larger amounts. Okay, now we could also talk about the whole foreclosure scam. Every single bank mortgage is based on fraudulent accounting practices. And we won't get into that, but every foreclosure is a fraud. Got one client right now. Her father did a reverse mortgage. One of the terms of the reverse mortgage was that the father, the client, was required to be living in the home. Okay? He's been living in the home the whole time. He's had ambulances show up to take him to emergency room. Neighbors have seen him. He's been paying utility bills the whole time. The bank wants the property. So they're using the excuse, oh, well, you're not living in the home, and we know the courts will side with us, so we're going to foreclose and take your property. And this is going on all over the place. Bankers are amongst the biggest thieves that ever existed. Okay. And it's systemic. It's based on it's not individuals here and there doing dirty deeds. The whole system is based on fraud. Won't get into that, but that's a little bit of a landscape overview of some of the biggest thieves in the world. So what do we see here? What's going on? Is there a pattern developing? You know, it seems like wherever you turn, you run into problems, liars, thieves, people that want to steal your property, steal your money, you know, false taxation, two-tiered justice system, courts in cahoots with the bankers. You know, every program that you enter, it seems like, you know, it goes great for a while to suck people in, and bada bing, bada boom, the rug pull. Everybody's money is gone. So what's happening here? What's going on? All right, we can definitely see a pattern developing. This isn't just some one-off circumstances happening by accident. Okay, there's a pattern developing. So in view of that, what else do we see going on in the world today? Well, we've got rampant evil just about everywhere you look. All right. Gangs are doing smash and grab, theft, in the high-end stores in broad daylight, doing this on Michigan Avenue, the Miracle Mile in Chicago, high-end malls in fancy neighborhoods. Okay, this is happening on a regular basis. You've seen that in the headlines. People are being viciously attacked in the street. There was a recent case where a priest was at the pulpit delivering a sermon. A Muslim walks right down the center aisle towards him and starts stabbing him with a knife as he's delivering his sermon. Thank God the guy survived and he's all right, but certainly not without trauma and severe wounds. All right. So these are things that are going on. You see people being pushed at the subway platforms, pushed in front of a train onto the tracks for no reason. I mean, just absolutely horrific things are going on. Crime and mass murders we're seeing like never before. Murderers are eating the face of the victim. Did you see that story? That was just recently in the last week or two in Las Vegas. Some demonic possessed individual was at a Quickie Mart, pushed someone down onto the concrete and smashed their head into the concrete multiple times, killing them. And that murderer was seen literally eating the ears and the nose off of the face of the victim. Now, there's only one explanation for that. Demons, pure demons roaming the streets. All right. That was an actual news story out of Las Vegas. So we have blatant corruption and injustice at every level. We see it in the courts. We see it in government. We see it in law enforcement. We see it in the universities. We see it virtually in every institution that exists right now. All right. So this is just rampant evil at every level. And so it's very rare to find people that share our values. There are no more common values that we can count on people having: a level of decency, a level of courtesy, or respect for other people. That doesn't exist anymore, at least not as a common denominator. Okay? And so that's very, very sad. So it's important to understand the circumstances that we live in, how people are, how the world is. All right. Now, just in my own circle and related ministries, let's take a look at what's been happening there. All right. A year ago, I had a freak accident. I was burning brush like I had always done before, never any problems. A freak accident caused severe burns on my legs. Took 2 months to recover. Very painful recovery. All right. And very intensive treatments. It just was one of those things that you never expect would happen. And I was doing the same things that I had always done before, never any problem. It was just one of these freak things that came up out of nowhere and poof, it happened. So then 6 months later, I had a stroke, was hospitalized. I've had to undergo therapy, expensive medications. All these things take away from my time and my focus and my purpose in doing what I do. It drains my financial resources. Okay. It was a huge distraction. Thank God I've been able to recover to a large degree, not entirely yet, but thank God I'm fully functional. Praise God for that. But a huge distraction from my mission. Then, just a couple of weeks ago, I had to break up a dog fight and get right in the middle of it. And had a terrible bite on one of my fingers. It's still not healed yet. I don't think it ever will be. I think it's permanently disfigured. And that's taken my attention away from my activity. All right. We've got a brother in the related ministry that's been immobilized with a severe, crippling back injury that's required surgery, and recovery is very slow. He runs a ministry that reaches a lot of people, and this has taken him away from his duties. All right. I've got another two people that I know, two brothers, have been attacked with cancer in the throat. That's not something that just comes up out of nowhere. Okay. Personally, and myself and other people that I know in my circle, we've been having to deal with high blood pressure, prediabetes, the medical expenses that go along with that, doctor visits, treatments. In the pharmacy, you can easily pay $2 or $3 per pill, and you need maybe six. I need 6 or 7 of those every day. All right, that adds up. And that's all happening at a time when business is going through a dry season. All right. It's almost supernatural as to how people in the public, my followers, my clients, people that follow my activity, simply do not respond to needs that they obviously have. They have needs that I can solve, but they're not responding to it. I think that's very unusual. It's very abnormal. Okay, so this is something to look at and be aware of, that those of us that are in a position of trying to help others, trying to spread the gospel, build the kingdom, these things are happening too. And it's not by accident. Okay, it's clearly a spiritual attack. We are clearly under a spiritual demonic attack intended to take us away from our mission, from our work, deny us of resources, deny us of the time, distract us from the purpose that God has given us, and interfere. Is pure interference. All right. There's no other way to look at it. These things aren't happening by accident. They're too many, too frequent, too intense to be just happenstance. Okay. So I think we can see that. We need to recognize it for what it is, that we're dealing in spiritual warfare that's manifesting in our health, in our relationships, in our focus, in our mission, in our finances. And our finances are just one aspect of that. All right. So it's clear to see that Satan is the father of all lies. He comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And you can see that happening everywhere. We are clearly in the end days. The end days scenario in prophecy is unfolding right before us. We're not coming upon it. We are in it. And so we need to recognize that for what it is. And so we're in spiritual warfare. And the only way to get out of this is to pray, is to come close to God, walk in his path, ask forgiveness for our sins, judge ourselves for our transgressions, that we not be judged, and be obedient and walk in the path that Jesus has laid for us. He has blessings for us. He has the answer. He has the solution. He has the victory, right? So this is how we get out of it. We all have to pray our way through these tribulations. And I would venture to say, without any doubt whatsoever, that you are going through some of these very same things yourself. All right. I know for a fact that you are. Okay. So I'm just giving you some examples for illustration. But these things continue on with each and every one of us. But the good news is that we shall recover all, that we need to have faith in God's promises. Proverbs tells us that the thief shall return sevenfold what he has stolen from us. Okay, that goes without question. So as we pray, as we stand in faith, we've got to stand on God's promises, knowing that he has a plan for us. And if you listened to that video that I sent in my last update of the elderly lady, she made a comment that I thought was very poignant and really resonated with me. I'm trying to recall her name. It's not coming to me, but you know what I'm talking about. The second video of the elderly lady, she made the comment that God has us going through a season of lack so that we might draw closer to him. And that is so true. You know, when people are fat and happy and rolling in clover, we don't think about God so much. We draw close to God when we need him the most. And for us to need him, he puts us through a season of lack. All right, so I hope that this season of difficulty for all of us is bearing fruit in that way, so that in walking closer with Christ, we have the opportunity to reap the blessings and the promises that he has for us. Okay, so bear that in mind. You know, all things work to the good for those who love the Lord. And if you love the Lord, especially in your times of need, you're drawing closer to him. You're asking for guidance from the Holy Spirit. You know, you're praying for an increase in your faith when all of these challenges might bring doubt into our lives. God, where are you? Why don't you help me? What are you doing? Where's the victory you promised us? Okay, doubt can creep in hard times, but we need to stand in faith, knowing that he's bringing us through this dry season so that we may draw closer to him and in the end reap the abundant blessings that he has for us. Okay, so two practical matters back down here on earth. All right, the CMP trust. In view of my past negative experiences with all those other programs, it was very obvious that as we build up this trust that we need to diversify. Diversification is the number one risk management strategy. If one of these profit centers has problems, boom, the other three will pick it up. If two of these profit centers have problems, boom, the other two will keep the boat afloat. All right, that was the whole concept of the CMP trust. Well, little did I know at the time that these satanic attacks was going to affect us in nearly every single one of these. Okay, trading. This wasn't something I just found some trader to throw some money at to see what you can do. I was invited to a dinner meeting with a bunch of business people up in Costa Rica. I flew to Costa Rica to have dinner with these guys. I met this trader, had extensive discussions with him, was very impressed by the team that he put together, the methodology that he was working with, and he showed me audited results from an account that he was trading, which was very impressive. So I went the extra mile of meeting this trader personally and going in depth into his modus operandi. All right. Long story short, the trading that he did for us didn't match up with expectations. We ended up with a loss. Okay. Not a big one, but a loss. And it was a test account he had wanted me to put in a lot more than what I did, but I wanted to test it first, and the results were less than spectacular. The document business, very well put together, good contacts. Circumstances changed in terms of the politics that documents were originally coming from Poland with their immigration issues with Ukraine. Things changed there a little bit, so we had to shift gears. That never really took off. We do have some funds in the document provider. Those are coming back with a profit, but that's probably not a real viable ongoing operation for us at the moment. Okay, American Media Systems. This had been generating significant double-digit profits on a monthly basis. I learned of it. I had people that I knew that had been involved with it for several months. They were getting payouts like clockwork. It was beautiful. It was simple. It made sense as to what was going on in terms of the underlying business activity. I even knew someone close in my circle that knew the founder and the principal, had dinner at his house on multiple occasions, was dealing with him on a regular basis. So we had a direct connection to the founder of this. So we had special insights that other people don't have. Long story short, right now I find out that that individual, the principal, was arrested in the Netherlands just a couple months ago, and the website is down. So are our funds. Okay, the Blue Ocean Society started a test account in October 2022. Results that we're reflecting in the back office were consistent, profitable, everything doing well. All right. Put in a request for withdrawal. There were things I wasn't comfortable with. I wanted to get funds out of there. I put in a withdrawal request in December of 2023 to withdraw all funds and close the account. They acknowledged the withdrawal request on several occasions. They have it. Apparently, the trading that they've been doing has not lived up to their expectations in this. So they're doing a slow walk on the withdrawals. They've just recently announced that they will now be doing partial withdrawals until their trading activity can meet the needs of all the pending withdrawal requests. They promised us in April we'd have it. It's now May. We don't have it yet. And now they're talking partial withdrawals. Okay, so we're still waiting on that. Of course, VECPR, you know the story there. That's a rug pull. Okay, so as you can see, the satanic attacks, the spiritual attacks have been on each and every one of our activities. Well, why might that be? Well, because many of us are involved in kingdom building activities. The funds that were coming from this were going towards kingdom building activities, supporting other people, other missions, doing things that would give glory to God. Okay, so the idea of diversifying was a great idea, but when dealing with Satan, okay, all bets are off. Now, don't be too disheartened, because we've got two new entries into the equation. The Pastera project is a revolutionary project that's going to turn the entire financial industry on its head. Okay, the basic idea is that Pastera is setting up a tax-free exchange in its own ecosystem to be able to set up to 100 investment funds. Each of these funds will generate between $200 and $500 million each, and be managed by fund managers from some of the big names. Okay, Vanguard, PIMCO, Allianz, you name it. Okay. That's a little bit longer term, but that's our ace in the hole. Okay, that will be supporting us in the long term as an ultimate backstop if ever needed. In the meantime, we've got new clients that are coming forward with nice chunks of new capital, and they're looking at compounding over a longer period of time. So we're making arrangements with them to basically provide us with a lower cost, long-term capital infusion that will enable us to be working with that capital and making a difference, making the difference in results. Because what's happening now is that we're consolidating everything so that the funds are basically in one central source of profit, and that will be trading in several different trading accounts that I'm in control of, along with certain market analysts that I'm working with. And as we get commitments to this new longer-term low-cost capital, they're only looking for single-digit returns. And when we are able to generate double-digit returns, as I'm used to doing in my own trading, then that can be poured into the trust to be able to make up the gap that we've talked about in previous presentations and get us back in floating on the river again. Okay, so that's the formulation, that's the configuration that we have at this point in time. And so I'd like to say that beyond that, this coincides with words from the Lord that are coming through loud and clear from many voices. Many voices. One that I listen to out of many is Liberty, she goes by, with Spirit Move Ministry. And she's had a number of words from the Lord, recognizing, the Lord recognizes that we've all been stolen from in so many ways throughout our lives, okay? Not just in this particular situation that we're in, but throughout our lives, we've been stolen from. Our inheritance has been stolen from us by a Babylonian system that basically Satan has control of. He's the king of lies and thievery, not to mention murder. All right, so none of us should be in the financial condition that we're in right now because our inheritance has been stolen from us. And the Lord is making it very clear that that's about to change. The wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. And that transformation, that transfer, that reset is in process. Okay, putting CMP aside, forget about the CMP trust for a moment. Okay, this is happening regardless. So I suggest, if when you have a chance, look up Spirit Move Ministry on YouTube and listen to Liberty. She's good. She usually has about 5 or 10 minutes of announcements in the beginning of her video, so you can maybe skip through that. She does a lot of speaking and traveling, evangelizing. She's really quite an angel in that regard. So just be aware of that. If you want to get right to the word, speed it up. Look about 5 to 10 minutes into the videos. Dr. Keenan Bridges, you may very well know him. He's been receiving multiple words. Okay, now he is definitely not a prosperity preacher. That's not his message. Okay, he talks about wealth in terms of not only finances, but health, relationships, increase in our faith, increase in the miracles that we see in our lives. All those things are included in the word wealth when he uses it. Okay, so don't mistake him to be a prosperity preacher. However, many of his words that come from the Lord, and I believe they are authentic and legitimate, many of his words do relate to the harvest of finances coming to his children who are obedient, and there are requirements for receiving that. You know, we have to be obedient, we have to be repentant, and the wealth and finances that's coming to us is not for us. It's for us to share with those in need, that we can be responsible stewards using the wealth and finances to help build up other people for the glory of God, for the glory of his name. Okay, that we are merely distribution points for whatever we end up receiving. So I have full faith in the promises of the Lord that, putting CMP Trust aside, that we're going to be on the receiving end of some mighty blessings in the days ahead. Okay. And then just to add a little frosting on the cake, the CMP Trust will be able to fulfill its mission at the appropriate time. It's not going to be immediate, but it is coming, and we're making headway in that direction. Okay. So that being the case, understand that we do have a plan. We're guided and inspired by the Holy Spirit. We stand on our faith. We give thanks for the breakthrough that is already there waiting for us. God has already provided it for us. And we're just waiting for it to manifest. Okay, it's there. We're just waiting for it to manifest. So we thank God for that breakthrough right now, here and now. And so with that in mind, we continue working in faith without wavering, without slowing down, without quitting. Quitting is for losers. We don't quit. We march on to the breakthrough. We keep on keeping on. All right. So with that, folks, I hope that it brings you into a point of understanding and having an awareness of our place in history and how all these pieces fit together. All right. So that being the case, I hope that this message blesses you and gives you cause for hope and inspiration. And certainly let's come together and pray that the promises of the Lord are what we're standing on, that our faith increases, that our determination is able to continue through adversity, knowing that the Lord is with us. So with that, let me end it there. Thanks for your attention. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be here working on behalf of the CMP Trust and all of you. Take care and God bless.